What is going on, everybody? ZyoniK here, and in today's video we're diving into the Ultra League, one of the final times you can play it this season, as we also have the Electric Cup, but I know a lot of you love that. I'm going to give it a try later this week, but right now Ultra League has been my jam. Next week we got Catch Cup, which is a nice time to take a break. Or climb, depending on how you look at it, and then the final week we have all three leagues available. So today's team, Toxicroak, Tapu Fini and Steelix, incredibly strong, fantastic coverage against the Ultra League meta, and very meta and viable. Have a lot of fantastic games to show you guys today, hard lead losses, everything, all in between. You guys know how these intense team videos go. So let's go ahead and get right into it. All right, getting into the first battle, Shadow Dragonite on the lead. Very bad matchup. We're going to go ahead and go right into Steelix, and we drawed a Cobalion. Now, I have two different ways I play this Cobalion matchup, and we're going to see that today. This is going to be version 1. In version 1, I'm looking to go for the Earthquake right away and undercharge it a bit so that Toxicroak can farm down, because the Cobalion is going to be winning this mid-game matchup, unfortunately. So we're going to go ahead and look to undercharge it, because the full charge won't really KO. So we're going to go ahead and just do that, and we'll let them farm us down. Kind of counterintuitive, but we're going to go ahead and bring in the Toxicroak and look to counter down. Now, I could have right there gone for double breaking swipes and then come in with a hard farm down, which I think would have been a better call to get a lot of energy on Toxicroak because of how well it can do with the Sludge Bomb neutral damage. Now, we have to swap out right away into when the Dragonite comes out, and they bring out a Registeel. So this is basically like a triple hard counter team, but because we are in the end game with a 2-2 shield matchup, we can dance this game around a little bit and find ourselves some potential win cons. So in order to do that, obviously I need to be shielding the Zap Cannons, and we need to try to save up as much energy as possible, while also chipping the health of Registeel. So we're going to go ahead and go for another Surf right here. Registeel probably not going to be shielding this early. So they decide to no shield, but this now gives me an interesting win condition. Because the Registeel is so low, Tapu Fini right here is able to survive. We do get an attack drop, so I'm looking to swap out into Toxicroak, and they swap out and into Dragonite. I need to come in with Toxicroak right away, because the Sludge Bomb right here is going to be getting me a shield. So we're going to go ahead and go for that. Now, obviously, I could have stayed in with Tapu Fini, but my attack dropped. So that is going to be tough. We're going to come back in, and because of our fairy typing and the bulk that this Tapu Fini has, we're looking pretty solid right here. And as you guys are going to see, Dragon Breath, Dragon Claw is not going to do a lot of damage. If they go for Superpower, I just Surf, right? If they go for a Superpower right here. Yeah, this is going to be a close one. We're going to go ahead and overload just a bit. They go for another Dragon Claw right away. I'm anticipating that Registeel coming back in. It does have energy, so we need to get rid of it. And sure enough, they do swap, so I'm going to go ahead and throw the Surf right away. And now it's going to be a race to the Moonblast if we can get there in time, which we do. Perfect. So Tapu Fini coming in clutch right here for us in game 1. You love to see it. Boom! Down goes the Dragonite. Good game. Alright, moving into game 2. Toxicroak versus Giratina Altered. Once again, a bad lead. Now, how this video is going to be kind of playing out, like, I mean, you guys know, the first couple battles, I show you guys really tough games and potential things to overcome. And then later on, we see what happens with lead wins. Right, so we're going to go ahead and go for the Earthquake here against the Registeel that did swap in. Now, something interesting about this matchup is because they swapped into Registeel late, I'm very far ahead in terms of energy, so I will give up a shield on Focus Blast, and then I'm going to look to go for a Breaking Swipe right here, just before they get to the next Focus Blast. They have one ready to go right now, and I wanted to apply this debuff because I wanted to threaten them with the shield, so they do decide to shield right there, which is perfect. Granted, I was one fast move away. But when it gets that close, right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to look to swap into Toxicroak now to catch the charge move. So they showed that Giratina Altered now is still Still going to get the business from Steelix as Cresselia now swaps in. So we were able to catch that Focus Blast. Toxicroak right here is going to do a lot of neutral damage with Sludge Bomb. It doesn't have a lot of play in this game in terms of positive matchups other than that Registeel. So its best utility here is going to be getting neutral damage as I go ahead and go for a Mud Bomb just before I get farmed down right there. We want as much chip damage as possible. Now, Steelix right here can win CMP tie, and I do have a Breaking Swipe ready, so we're going to go ahead and come in with the Steelix and go for the Breaking Swipe right away. That way we apply the debuff, and we maintain some bulk here on the Steelix, as they're going to look to go for Grass Knots. Now, yes, we could have gotten away with an Earthquake right there, but I thought they might have been shielding considering how much energy I had. And now the Giratina Altered is forced to swap back in. Remember, Steelix is out, or not Steelix, Registeel is out of energy. So I'm going to go ahead and go for a Breaking Swipe here to do super effective damage and apply the debuff. And then we're going to look to swap into Tapu Fini now and overload on energy, much like game number 1 against the Registeel and the Shadow Dragonite. Tapu Fini here is going to look to carry us a bit in game 2. Now, there's a lot of other games. Toxicroak carries me in some of these games today. Steelix carries me. I think ultimately Steelix was putting in the most work in this game right here with what it did to Registeel, Cresselia, and now the Giratina. So we're going to go ahead and go for Moonblast just to get rid of it. If they want to give up a shield on this, so be it. And boom, down it goes. In comes the Cresselia. But this, my friends, is where the PvPIV gods shined upon me as I survive, and they swap into Registeel here to catch the charge move, as Surf is going to be doing neutral damage, but I swap out into Steelix to farm down. I have Breaking Swipe ready to go, which is going to be getting the final shield of this game, and because Cresselia went for those Grass Knots against Tapu Fini, I'm going to be able to get to the final one on CMP tie, and that is going to be a good game. Very well played. Buckle up. Today's video is sweaty. Good game to my opponent. Alright, moving into the next one. Toxicroak versus Shadow Dragonite once again. We gotta swap into Steelix, but instead of a Cobalion coming in, it is gonna be Tapu Fini. So I'm gonna go ahead and look to go for Breaking Swipe here to apply the debuff, and then we're gonna get to that Earthquake. We're not taking Switch here against a Tapu Fini, even if we go straight Earthquakes. So it's better to kind of survive a bit, and then try to get to the Earthquake in time. But this Tapu Fini right here gets to the Surf just before I get to the Earthquake. So unfortunately, this is a very tough position for me to be in, as I should have just gone for an Earthquake, because that added health. But we're still looking okay. We don't know what Pokemon number 3 is. But hopefully Tapu Fini has a good matchup against it. So I'm hoping it's a Steelix in the back. But we're going to go ahead and look to go for Sludge Bomb now to KO the Tapu Fini before they get to another Surf. We don't want to take too much damage. And then with Dragonite coming in, we're just going to stay in and go for Sludge Bomb here to even up the shields. Or, obviously do a ton of neutral damage. And they decide to shield, so we're going to go ahead and swap out into Tapu Fini now. And it's not a Steelix in the back. It's a Golisopod. So this is going to be a good game. This is a very strong team that you guys can run. My opponent's side right here: Shadow Dragonite, Tapu Fini, and Golisopod. Golisopod's the safe swap, and it's actually one of the top performing teams on PvPoke's listing as well, and for good reason. It's just very strong in this meta. So unfortunately, I really don't have a win con. There's still a Shadow Dragonite to deal with in the back, which means I have to land Sludge Bombs, I have to land Surfs. So the only way I can win this is by farming down with Water Gun, but the Golisopod is able to get to another Aerial Ace in time. So that's basically going to be a good game, very well played. We do get the farm down though, which is great, but I just don't have the health remaining to survive a Dragon Claw, unfortunately. So we're going to go down, Toxicroak comes back in, and we're going to get Dragon Breath down, and that is going to be a good game, very well played. Alright, moving into the next one, Toxicroak versus Charizard. Tough lead. We're going to go ahead and swap out into Steelix, getting ahead on energy, and in comes an Escavalier. So it's kind of similar to Cobalion matchup, but in this case, what I'm going to look to do is I'm going to look to go straight for an Earthquake by giving up one shield here in the mid game. This is also going to force them to have to throw another drill run at me, because the last thing I want is an Escavalier to healthy farm down my Steelix, and now I'm in big trouble with my Toxicroak because it's also weak to ground type moves. Now, because the Earthquake landed, I will take Switch right here. Thank you very much, says Steelix against a Steel counter user. See ya. We're going to farm down. And now they're in a tough position as Poliwrath decides to come in, so we have a Breaking Swipe ready for that. And my opponent as well is going to look to swap out right here and go into Charizard to try to get a farm down, but I have another Breaking Swipe ready to go. And this is perfect here for Tapu Fini because I can swap out, keeping my Steelix alive just in case I need it later on in this game. But we are looking to be in a very good position to farm down with Water Gun, as it will do quite a bit of damage, especially against Charizard right here. And because of the Breaking Swipe debuff, Blast Burns aren't a threat anymore. Had we not thrown a Breaking Swipe against Charizard, our Tapu Fini might be KO'd by now. But it's not, which means I'm allowed to fight Poliwrath now with a lot of energy. So we're going to go ahead and go for a Surf, trying to get a Shield Bait, which we do. And now we're going to look to go for that Moonblast, as they're trying to overload on energy. And this is probably going to be getting shield number 2, obviously, or we just straight up win. So we do get shield number 2. And instead of swapping out, I decide to let them farm me down. And the reason being is I'm going to catch the charge move here on Steelix, which basically totally negates the complete farm down that they had. And now this Poliwrath has to get to 2 Scalds in order to KO me, and my Toxicroak only has to get to 1 Sludge Bomb. So they're at Scald number 1, but I am ahead on energy now. So we're going to be able to get to this Sludge Bomb here in time, and that is going to be a good game, very well played, as the Toxicroak takes it there against the Poliwrath. Boom, down it goes. Alright, moving into the next one. Virizion on the lead. So now we're transitioning. We went from a lot of bad leads and tough situations in the first part of the video, and now we're in good leads, good situations in the second half of the video. Virizion being one of them. Obviously, Virizion is a very strong meta Pokemon that's great against our backline of Tapu Fini and Steelix. So we have the Toxicroak here to help handle that because of Sludge Bomb. Now, Virizion, depending on the IVs, could potentially win this matchup because, as you guys can see, Leaf Blade is starting to add up, and it takes me a lot longer to get to a Sludge Bomb to KO them than it does for them to get to Leaf Blade. So I will take this to the 1s, and I'm going to look to go for Mud Bomb right here, hoping that in tandem with counter damage, it's going to be enough to take out Virizion, but they decided to shield twice. So now I'm like, okay, I can get to another Mud Bomb right here, and this was my hope that, you know what, this is enough to KO. The Virizion's low enough right here, but it survives with 1 HP in a Dream. So we're going to let this go. Virizion is the hardest counter to my backline. Hopefully that is on their team. So I'm going to come in with Steelix because an energy gain on Steelix right there is a lot more beneficial than a Water Gun. So we saw Tapu Fini. We're going to go ahead and swap out into our own Tapu Fini. And I've already seen 2, right? Virizion and Tapu Fini. It's a fair guess that it's going to be maybe a Steelix or Registeel in the back. So we're going to go ahead and let the Moonblast go through. And they do decide to swap out. And it is going to be, and they got an attack drop from me as well with that Moonblast, which is pretty devastating. But it's going to be Shadow Steelix in the back, which is actually pretty good for us because I can do a lot of Surf damage still and a lot of Water Gun damage. And then my own Steelix can come in the 1-0 shield matchup against their Tapu Fini, which is also out of energy because of Moonblast, in order to potentially win this game. And you guys are going to see something maybe counterintuitive, but also actually very good. Is I'm gonna let them hit me. I don't want to give Tapu Fini energy on their side. What I would rather have is my Steelix commit to the hard farm down right here against their Steelix, as we don't even get hit with Breaking Swipe. And I'm going to go for my own Breaking Swipe against the Tapu Fini in the 0 shield against them. Why? Water Gun and Surf are gonna land here against my Steelix. It's better to apply that debuff early so that all the water gun damage isn't doing as much right away, and then I can go for free to go for an Earthquake because it is the zeros here against the Tapu Fini to potentially win. Now this doesn't do, it does do a ton of damage, don't get me wrong, but it's not enough to KO, which means I have to survive this next Surf, and had I not breaking swiped them right away, I think the added water gun damage plus this Surf might have been enough to KO me. So this is going to be a good game. Steelix carrying me in a couple of these battles today. Boom, down it goes. All right, moving to the next one, we got Scrafty on the lead. Very positive lead here for us, right? They're going to go ahead and swap out into Wheezing. And while I'm staying in, I'm trying to calculate what moveset could they have. 3 charge moves, right? Brutal Swing, Overheat, Play Rough. I'm going to guess Brutal Swing and Overheat, so I'm going to come in with Tapu Fini instead of Steelix. And the reason why is with a Scrafty lead, the coverage of Fire and they have Play Rough instead, but Brutal Swing and Overheat Safe Swap makes a bit more sense. Play Rough also makes sense, I guess. But I thought, you know what, this is going to be a better play because when Scrafty, if Scrafty comes back in, it's not gonna leave without being punished because of Moonblast, the chip damage from Water Gun, a lot of things rolling for us. So we go for the Surf, and they decide to come in not with Scrafty, but with something that is kind of concerning. It's going to be Tentacruel here with Poison Jab, which is going to be able to farm us down. Now I decided to go for Moonblast, hoping we could also get the cheeky little attack debuff, you know? So do we get it? No, we don't get it, of course, but they will get a very healthy farm down. Now, Scrafty and Tentacruel are the final Pokemon left in this game, which means I need Steelix to come into Tentacruel. Yes, we're going to get hit by Scalds. Yes, it's going to hurt, but ultimately Toxicroak needs to be healthy in order to win this game, and it needs to farm down the Scrafty. And with Steelix staying in right here against Tentacruel, Dragon Tail and Breaking Swipe are going to add up. I'm not going to give up any shields, so they will actually swap into Scrafty, which is perfect because applying the Breaking Swipe debuff is going to allow Toxicroak to come out of this matchup a bit more healthy and allows me to fully counter down. But my opponent right here is going to decide to go for, I decided no shield right here, but they decided to go for Power Up Punch, which now is kind of concerning because if they do get to a foul play, I'm going to go ahead and give up a shield right here because I think I can win the race against Tentacruel. And even if I don't, I think, and I did an overtap right there, unfortunately. I was at max 100 energy, but we're going to go ahead and try to win the race to 3 Mud Bombs. So there's 1. We're going to go ahead and go for 2, and we're very close to a 3rd. And remember, Tentacruel just did a back-to-back Scald there against Steelix. So we get 2 shields. Switch Clock is coming back up, but I will get to 3 in time. So Toxicroak really carrying me this game. That super effective damage against the Wheezing, fully farmed down the Scrafty, and taking out the Tentacruel. So good battle. Alright, moving to the next one. Charizard once again on the lead. Got to swap out right away. We're going to go ahead and go into Steelix, and we do see a Cobalion come into this matchup. So what I'm going to look to do here is different than game 1. I'm going to apply the Breaking Swipe debuff right away so that it can't easily take me out. It's got to throw more charge moves in order to take me out, and this allows me to potentially get to an Earthquake in time as well. So let's see if we can get there. And I'm fine with Cobalion coming in. It's a lot better than Tapu Fini. So we're going to go ahead and just let these Sacred Swords go through. And now we're going to be able to get to this Earthquake. And this is where we get ourselves potentially shield advantage or switch advantage. Because now, boom, one-shots the Cobalion. And this is a very tough position for them. As Charizard coming back in is going to get hit with a Breaking Swipe, which is always a welcomed charge move to be able to throw here, especially when you're this low on health, because it applies that attack drop, and we're chunking. We got it to about 50% HP. Tapu Fini can easily come in and lock this thing down, but there's a Trevenant in the back. All of these battles do not have a happy ending, I'll tell you that. I told you today's games were sweaty. We have seen a lot of great comebacks with this team that I've been running, but sometimes you run into core breakers like this. that really just kind of devastate you, and that's because of the Grass Ghost typing, the Shadow Claw, Seed Bomb, Shadow Ball moveset. Trevenant is still a force of nature to be reckoned with, as we're going to try to no shield, and it is going to be Seed Bomb, and then we're going to go for another Sludge Bomb right here. I wouldn't survive long enough to Mud Bomb Shield Bait, I don't think, and then try to land a Sludge Bomb. So I went for the double Sludge Bomb, but it's over. It's a wrap. Trevenant right here is very healthy, and I don't have a lot of energy on Tapu Fini. I have to get to a Moonblast in time, so I'm going to shield, and unfortunately we're just not going to make it. This Trevenant has a lot of energy. There's still Charizard to deal with, as we will get to the Moonblast, but by throwing the Moonblast, I won't. Surf wouldn't have KO'd right there. By throwing the Moonblast, I've now sealed my fate because I don't have a Surf ready to go for the Charizard, which already has a charge move ready to go, so Blast Burn is going to go ahead and get me. So good game to my opponent. Trevenant obviously, boom, did very well against my core, so good game. Alright, moving into the final battle, we have a Nidoqueen on the lead. So this whole team can handle Nidoqueen in one way or another. For the lead right here, it's obviously the Mud Bomb damage. Now, Nidoqueen staying in is a tell to me that maybe they're weak in the back to the fighting typing right here, maybe the poison typing. Don't know yet, but they're deciding to stay in, so I'm going to go ahead and shield, and we're going to be able to outpace basically to charge move. So we'll see if we can get a shield from them, or if we just KO. Maybe they just want to soft lose lead and get shield advantage, but they don't. They decide to shield. So now we're in a position here where I'm going to go ahead and shield, and I'm going to risk it and farm down, especially since it was Earth Power. So we're just going to commit to the farm down right here, as they actually can't get to a Poison Fang in time, unfortunately. We do see a Golisopod swap in. So Golisopod, a good answer to my team, but it's going to take a lot of neutral damage from Sludge Bomb, and as you guys are going to see, we're going to be able to get to another one in time, and then we're going to look to, I wanted to do this so that I can get myself into the 0 shields, and then I'm going to swap into Steelix now, as it can tank a Liquidation, but this Golisopod cannot tank the Breaking Swipe plus Dragon Tail, so they actually have to swap out. So we're going to see them do that, and they swap into Greninja. So this is going to be a good game. Unfortunately, Greninja in the 0 shields is going to have a tough time. This is still going to be a close game, but it's going to have a tough time because I have a Tapu Fini, which has a lot of health. It hasn't come into the game yet, and so all I need to win this game is basically 2 Surfs. So I decide to come in with Tapu Fini right away. They do have a charge move ready to go, so it's probably just going to be a Hydro Cannon, which is fine, but Tapu Fini, again, very tanky, can easily soak this, doesn't do a lot of damage, as we're just going to load up on energy. I decide to swap into Toxicroak here to catch the charge move, because if any time of catching a charge move, it's a lot easier to catch it on a Greninja. They're a lot more predictable than a Golisopod. So we're going to go ahead and we see them swap out, so I'm going to go ahead and go for the Surf, but ultimately Tapu Fini double Surf takes this game for me, so good game to my opponent. But much like the Trevenant core broke me there at the end, Tapu Fini is kind of doing the same thing, but a bit more defensively here, because we are resisting all of these charge moves. So that is going to be a good game, very well played, as Tapu Fini is going to take it for me. And this team put in some work today. Very, very strong. Highly recommend because of just the raw bulk that it has. Did incredibly well, and really impressed with the capabilities of coming back from bad situations, which happened a lot. I show you guys today. Now, not every situation you can come back from, much like the Golisopod Tapu Fini backline with that Shadow Dragonite lead, or the Trevenant on the backline. It's hard to come back from those situations, but overall it was a very good couple sets here with this team. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and like always, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.